The kitchen is still dark when I come down the stairs. I count them, the way I have counted them for 44 years, 14 steps. My hand on the banister Harold sanded down himself the year Catherine was born. The wood remembers him better than I do some mornings. I don't turn on the overhead light. I never do. I turn on the small lamp over the sink, the one with the yellowed shade I keep meaning to replace and never will. And I stand there for a moment, just to feel the floor under my feet, to make sure the house and I have both made it through another night. My name is Evelyn Grace. I am 92 years old. I have lived alone in this house since the November Harold died, 11 years ago next month, and I am telling you about my mornings because somebody asked me last week, with a kind of disbelief in her voice, how I still have the energy I have. She was 38. She drinks something green from a bottle and looks tired all the time. I told her I would think about it. I told her I would write it down. I didn't tell her that I already knew what I would say, because some of what I would say sounds too simple to be useful, and people don't trust simple things anymore. But if you are watching this, and you are tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, and you have been told that the answer is some supplement or some routine that costs more than your groceries, let me just sit with you for a little while. Let me tell you what an old woman who lives alone has learned about the first hour of the day. Because I have learned, more than anything else, that the day does not begin when you start moving. The day begins in how you greet it. The first thing is the quiet. I don't reach for anything that talks. No television, no radio, no telephone. The phone stays on the dresser upstairs and it stays face down. There is a woman on my street, a sweet woman, about 60, who told me she checks her phone before she gets out of bed. She said it like a confession. I told her that was like opening your front door before you put your clothes on and letting whoever was outside walk in. I had to learn this the hard way. After Harold died, I used to turn the television on the minute I came downstairs. I told myself it was for the company. I told myself the noise of the morning news was better than the noise of an empty house. It took me almost 2 years to understand that I was running from something that wasn't chasing me. The quiet wasn't grief. The quiet was just quiet. And once I stopped being afraid of it, the quiet started giving me back what the noise had been taking. So now my mornings begin in silence. I sit at the kitchen table with my hands wrapped around a mug, and I let the house wake up around me. The refrigerator hums. A car passes outside. The clock in the hall. Harold wound it every Sunday for 52 years, and now I wind it every Sunday. Clicks the way it has always clicked. And I am there, listening, before I ask anything of my mind or my body. People say you cannot pour from an empty cup. They say it all the time. But what they don't tell you is that you cannot pour from a cup that has been shaking since you opened your eyes either. The first thing the morning needs from you is stillness. Everything else is built on top of that. The second thing is the water. Just water, before anything else. I keep a glass by the sink, the same glass I have used since the summer Diana broke the matching one when she was 12. She still apologizes about it sometimes when she's had a glass of wine and gets sentimental on the phone. I tell her the glass that's left has done its job for 50 years and isn't asking for company. She laughs, a little wet the way Diana laughs. I fill it from the tap, not cold, just cool, and I drink it slowly, standing at the sink, watching the sky start to lighten over the fence. My body has been without water for 8 hours, and it is the first thing it needs. Not coffee, not food, just water, to remind every part of me that I have decided to be alive today. Then comes the coffee. I make it the way Harold made it, in the same percolator he bought in 1978. Robert has tried to give me a machine 3 Christmases in a row. Last year it was something with pods. The year before, something that grinds the beans for you. He means well, my Robert. He believes that the right object can solve any problem. He has spent his whole life believing that, and I have stopped trying to argue with him about it. I just thank him and put the boxes in the closet under the stairs, and at some point Catherine takes them away, and we never speak of it. But I make the coffee the old way, because the old way takes time, and time is the point. The percolator needs about 7 minutes. Harold used to read the paper while he waited. Now I look out the window. I think of him. I don't cry most mornings. I just let him be there with me, the way he is, the way he always will be. The coffee bubbles up. The kitchen starts to smell like every morning of 52 years. And I am not alone. Not in the way people mean when they say alone. That is the second thing. Hydration, yes. But more than that, a ritual. Something with your hands. Something that takes a few minutes and gives back more than it asks. The third thing is the moving. And this is where people my age get into trouble, so I want to be careful with you here. I do not exercise in any way that would sound impressive. I am 92 years old. My knees are not what they were. My back tells me about the weather before the weather arrives. I do not run on a treadmill or lift weights or do whatever the videos on the internet say I should be doing to live to 120. But every morning, before I sit down to eat, I move. I move slowly, and I move on purpose, and I move every part of me that still answers when I call. I stand at the kitchen counter and I rise up on my toes 10 times. I roll my shoulders back 10 times. I turn my head to one side and then the other. I reach my arms over my head and I hold them there long enough to feel the stretch in my ribs, the place where breathing actually happens. I bend forward just a little, just enough to feel my spine remember it has joints. Then I walk. From the kitchen, through the dining room, into the front hall, and back. 3 times. Slow, steady. It takes about 8 minutes. That is all. 8 minutes. There was a winter 4 years ago when I didn't do this. I had a bad fall in November. Nothing broke, but my hip frightened me, and I started moving less, and I started sitting more, and by February I couldn't get out of my own armchair without a fight. Catherine came over one Saturday and saw what was happening, and she didn't say a word. She just sat down across from me and looked at me, and her eyes were wet, and I knew what she was thinking. She was thinking about a nursing home. She was thinking she was about to lose her mother to the chair her father used to sit in. I started moving again the next morning, not because she said anything, because she didn't say anything, and I understood. What I want you to hear is this. The body forgets very fast. Whatever it does not do, it learns it does not need to do. And then one day you cannot do it anymore, and you tell yourself that's just age, but it isn't. Not always, not as often as we pretend. It is the morning you decided to sit instead of stand, and the next morning, and the one after that. Move a little, every day, before the day takes you somewhere where you can't. The fourth thing is the eating. And the eating for me is 2 pieces of toast and an egg and half a banana most mornings. Sometimes oatmeal in the winter with a little brown sugar and a piece of butter the size of my thumbnail. Nothing fancy, nothing that pretends to be more than it is. But I sit down. That is the part I want you to hear. I sit down at the table with a plate, with a real plate. The cream-colored ones Harold's mother gave us for our wedding, the ones I have kept all these years because they are mine, and they are heavy in my hand, and they have eaten beside me for longer than most marriages last. I do not stand at the counter. I do not eat while I am doing anything else. I do not read while I am eating. I sit, and I eat, and I taste it. Diana called me on a Tuesday a few months back, and she was crying. Diana cries easily. She's always been the soft one, my caboose, my late surprise. She was telling me about how busy she was, how she hadn't had a real meal in 3 days, how she'd been eating in the car between appointments. And then she said something that I have not been able to stop thinking about. She said she couldn't remember the last time she sat down to eat just for the sake of eating. I did not lecture her. I have learned not to lecture my children. They get enough of that from themselves. I just said, sit down tomorrow. Just one meal. Sit down. And she said she would, and maybe she did, and maybe she didn't. But I said it, and that is what I could do. I bring it up because I think a lot of you are eating standing up. I think a lot of you are eating in the car, in front of a screen, while you walk from one room to another. And then you wonder why you feel empty by 10 in the morning. It is not because of the food. It is because of how you ate it. Food eaten standing up does not feed the same parts of you that food eaten sitting down feeds. I cannot prove that to you. I am 92 years old and I am not a scientist. But I have eaten a lot of meals in this life, and I know what I know. The fifth thing is harder to explain. I do not know what to call it. I have called it different things in my head over the years. It is this. Somewhere in the first hour of the morning, I take in something beautiful, on purpose, as medicine. Some mornings it is the garden. I go out the back door, even in the cold, even when my robe is not enough, and I stand on the patio and I look at whatever is growing or refusing to grow. The hydrangea Harold planted the year Sophie was born, that is 25 years old now and twice my height. The little brick path the grandchildren tore up and relaid when Oliver was 9 and decided he was going to be a builder. The bird feeder Diana refills every Sunday because she worries the birds depend on me and I might forget. I might forget. I haven't yet. Some mornings it is a book. I keep a book of poems on the kitchen table. It doesn't matter which book. I read one poem before I get up to wash my plate. Just one. Sometimes I read it twice, if it is the kind of poem that doesn't give you what it has on the first try. Some mornings, on the harder days, the beautiful thing is just a memory. I let one come, and I sit with it, and I don't push it away. Harold teaching James how to fish off the dock at the cabin, the boy maybe 6, the line in a tangle, Harold patient in a way he was almost never patient with anyone else. The kitchen full of people on the Christmas before he died, none of us knowing it would be the last one. Rose, my youngest grandchild, on my lap 2 summers ago, telling me very seriously that she had decided she was going to live until she was 107, because that was how old her teacher's grandmother was, and Rose did not believe in losing. The point is that the world is full of beautiful things, and the world is full of ugly things, and which one you reach for in the morning will set the tone for everything that comes after. People my age know this. We know it because we have run out of time to waste being miserable on purpose. If you wake up and the first beautiful thing you take in is something somebody is selling you on a screen, you have already lost the morning. The morning is not the screen's to take. The morning belongs to you. The sixth thing, and I almost didn't put this one in because it sounds like I am bragging, and I am not. I promise you I am not. The sixth thing is that I do one thing for someone else before I do anything for myself. It is small. It has to be small because I am 92 years old and small is what I have. Some mornings I write a card. There is a little stack of them in the drawer by the telephone. I write to one grandchild a week, sometimes more, not for any reason, just a few lines. I tell Noah what the cardinals are doing in the bird feeder. I tell Lily I am thinking about her. I tell Rose a joke that her grandfather would have told her if he had lived long enough to know her, which he did not. Some mornings I call somebody. There is a woman 3 doors down, a widow like me, a little younger, who lost her husband 2 years ago and is still in the part where the mornings hurt the most. I call her and I don't ask her how she is, because she is tired of that question. I ask her what she is having for breakfast, and sometimes she laughs, and sometimes she doesn't, and either way she is less alone than she was a minute before. Some mornings I just sit by the front window and I think of one person by name and I wish them well. That is all. I do not know if that does anything. I am not a religious woman in the way I used to be, but I know that holding somebody in your mind, on purpose, with affection, is not nothing. It changes the person who is doing the holding. Maybe that is all it does. That is enough. I started doing this after Harold died, and I'll tell you why. Because for the first 2 years, I was so deep inside my own grief that I was suffocating in it. My life had shrunk to the size of the bed I couldn't get out of. And one morning, Catherine sat down on the edge of that bed, and she said very quietly that she was scared for me. And I knew she was right. And I knew that nobody was coming to save me. And I knew that the only way out was a door I was going to have to open myself. So I started small. I wrote one card to Sophie, who was 13 then, and lonely in her own way. And the act of writing the card, of having to think about someone other than me for 10 minutes, was the first 10 minutes since the funeral that I had not been drowning. That is what I want to tell you. If you are tired in your soul, and you have tried all the things that are supposed to fix it, try this. Find one small kindness. Do it before you do anything for yourself, not because you owe anyone, because you are dying inside the small room of yourself and you need a door, and other people are doors. So there are my 6 things: the quiet, the water and the coffee, the moving, the eating sat down, the beautiful thing, and the door, the small kindness, the way out of yourself. I want to tell you what I have noticed about them, all of them together, because I think it is the part that matters most. None of them cost anything, not a single one. You do not need a subscription. You do not need a device. You do not need a coach or an app or a powder. Every one of these things was available to your great-grandmother, and is available to you and will be available to whoever inherits this house from me whenever that day comes. That is on purpose. I lived through a time when an entire industry decided to convince people that wellness was something you bought. I watched it happen. I watched my own daughter Diana spend thousands of dollars on things that promised to give her energy, and I watched her stay tired. Because the things she was buying were not the things she needed. The things she needed were free and were waiting for her, and she could not see them because they did not have a logo on them. The first hour of your day is not a problem to be solved with money. It is a gift that you either accept or you throw away. That is the whole truth of it. The other thing I have noticed is that none of these 6 things require you to be young. None of them require knees that work, or a back that doesn't ache, or an alarm clock at 5 in the morning. The woman who told me she couldn't have my mornings because her body was already breaking down at 60. I told her she had me by 32 years and was using her body as the excuse, not the reason. I was not unkind about it, but I said it, because sometimes the kind thing is to say the thing that is true. Energy is not a substance. Energy is a relationship. It is what you build with the morning. It is what the morning builds with you. If you treat it like an enemy you have to defeat with caffeine and willpower, it will fight you all day. If you treat it like a friend you are sitting down to have coffee with, it will give you everything it has. It is almost 8 o'clock now, in the morning I am telling you about. The coffee is finished. The plate is washed and back in the cabinet where Harold's mother put it the day she handed it to me. I am still at the table. There is a square of sunlight on the wood, moving slowly the way sunlight does, and I am watching it move because I am 92 years old, and I have learned not to look away from sunlight when it is offering itself to me. Catherine will call around 9. I know this because Catherine has called around 9 on most weekdays for the last decade, and I have stopped pretending it annoys me. It does not annoy me anymore. It used to when I thought she was checking to see if I was still alive. Now I know she is just checking to hear my voice. That is not the same thing. That is love. I had to be old to understand the difference. Robert will probably not call today because Robert calls on Sundays. He is consistent in his way. I am grateful for him in his way. Diana will text. Diana always texts. The phone will light up at some point with 3 sentences and 4 exclamation points and a heart, and I will smile at it. And I will write back something short because Diana does not need long answers. She needs to know I am there. I am there. And tomorrow morning I will get out of bed and I will come down the 14 stairs with my hand on the banister Harold sanded, and I will not turn on the overhead light, and I will start again. That is the last thing I want to tell you. The mornings are not a thing you perfect once. They are a thing you begin again every day for the rest of your life. The day you start treating them as a practice instead of a project is the day you stop being tired in the way that nothing fixes. I am 92. I live alone. I am not lonely most days. I am not afraid most days. I have buried the man I loved for 52 years, and I have raised 3 children who do not always understand me, and I have 7 grandchildren who look at me like I am a book they have not finished reading. I have woken up to more mornings than I can count, and the ones that have given me the most have always been the ones I did not rush. If you are watching this, and you are young, or you are tired, or you are afraid of getting old, listen to me. The good morning is not the busy morning. The good morning is not the productive morning. The good morning is the one where you let yourself be a person before you let yourself be a task. Sit down, drink the water, move a little, eat the toast, look at something beautiful, be kind to one person who is not you. That is what I have. That is what I am still learning, even now. That is what I will be doing tomorrow and the day after, until the day I do not. I hope you will join me.